Hey, I'm Mary.
And I'm Jake.
And you're listening to The Fly Angle, the official RDU Airport podcast. So what is The Fly Angle and who is the Fly Angle for?
Yeah, so this is something that we've wanted to do here at RDU for some time. There's not a lot of airports that have official podcasts. In fact, I think we're either the second or the third, but we're pretty excited about it. And we're recording this actually right about maybe 100 yards from 5 Right, one of our two main runways here at the airport.
What do you expect to cover in The Fly Angle? I'm super excited along with you, but what can listeners anticipate?
Yeah, so we get behind the scenes requests all the time. People asking what it's like to work here, what happens at the airport on any given day. You and I get to see it, but we want to share it with the world too. A lot of folks also asking, how they can get news from us and how they can get behind the scenes from us in different channels. And podcasting kept coming up. So here we are.
And you can find the Fly Angle episodes on our website at rdu.com. We also want our episodes to be listener engagement. So we want to hear from you. We want to know what topics you might want to learn about, what interests you, what you're wondering, if there's questions, and even profiling some of the things that we are launching here at RDU.
Yeah, and this is for everybody, whether you are new to flying, whether you're an experienced flyer, maybe you're a pilot. If you're an av geek, if you're not an av geek, you will be by the end of this podcast, I promise. But whether you're a Raleighite, or if you live in the Bull City, if you're in North Carolina and like flying through RDU, hopefully this will be familiar to you and maybe you'll learn something too. But we're going to have some fun with it for sure.
Absolutely. And if something piques your interest or if you have an episode topic that you'd like for us to explore, definitely drop us an email at communications@rdu.com. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on here at RDU. You may have read or heard that RDU passenger traffic remains unusually low as the global health pandemic continues to impact air travel. The airport saw 319,000 passengers in August. That, Jake, is significantly lower compared to this time in 2019.
Yeah, down almost 76%. Obviously, being in a pandemic has been an interesting time for air travel. A few little behind the scenes, little data points. One thing that we're seeing come back is leisure travel. So business travelers are still slow to come back. Understandably, a lot of employers have hesitation about that. But leisure travelers, they are flying to tropical climate locations. They're flying to see family and friends, and we love seeing that. We definitely love seeing people coming back. As you can imagine, Labor Day was a great holiday for us. We had some of our best numbers since March or April. It's definitely been flattered here from a traffic standpoint in recent months and weeks, and we think it's going to go back to continue being flattened and at least through the holidays.
And Jake, you mentioned leisure traffic. Is that unusual for RDU? Has RDU historically had more business travel? Is that why you point out leisure?
Yeah, so RDU traditionally has a good, healthy mix of business and leisure. We have obviously a robust economy here, lots of businesses who are flying every day. So the majority of our traffic is business. So not having that as big as it was prior to coronavirus, that presence has been, or lack of presence has been felt. Absolutely. Here for sure. We're hopeful that they will come back sooner than later.
Absolutely. That makes sense. And as people continue to return to air travel, so are some of our flights and shops and restaurants here at RDU. Airlines have announced the return of nonstop service to places like Paris and Cancun in the upcoming months.
Yes,
Very
please.
exciting.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about those. I'm not going to lie. One that I'm really excited about is getting Los Angeles back. Oh my gosh, connectivity back to the West Coast is so important, not only just for people here, but the economy. People who have business on the West Coast can finally start to go back through that nonstop service to LAX, with multiple airlines coming back online for that destination. So we're hopeful that creates the snowball effect and we start to get service back to other popular locations. So we're really excited about all those. And then I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty excited about some of the shops and restaurants too.
Which ones, Jake?
Well, all of them, but it's so hard to choose. One of my favorites is Whiskey River. They are back open. If you've never been to Whiskey River, it's in Terminal 2, and that's the one with the mechanical bull, which now is wearing a mask and staying socially distanced. They have a live music stage. That's Dale Jr. is involved with that one. It's a cool place. It's award-winning even. If you are the shop local type, Root and Branch, which is in the T2 marketplace, the Terminal 2 marketplace, is back open. And you can get all of your North Carolina artisan collectibles and local goods right there on your way out. And then the craft beer nerd in me loves Raleigh Brewing, and Raleigh Tap Room is back open. So we're pretty excited about that too.
Absolutely. One of the things, Jake, that I love about RDU, we had a resurgence of local flavor in our terminals. And,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud that you hear Raleigh Tap Room, Raleigh Brewing. We're really putting Raleigh and Durham on the map. We're excited to go check them out and hope that you will go see them as you return to our terminals as well. And speaking of returning, RDU, along with our partner airlines, continue to enhance passenger health and safety measures, as well as more stringent cleaning and disinfecting protocols, and the ability to ban passengers who refuse to properly wear a face covering like the bowl.
That's right. And if you take nothing else away from this podcast, wear your face covering when you come to the airport. I sound like my dad.
Yes.
But it's true. It is still a requirement in the state of North Carolina at this time. But we want to encourage you, and we've heard it from people, that they feel safer when they're wearing a mask or when others are wearing masks. So we're even making them available. If you forget yours in the car or leave it at home, that's okay. Just make sure you go to our information desk. They have them for free. They're actually kind of comfortable. I've tried them on. But so that campaign, we launched it a few months ago, called Fly Confident, Fly RDU. And Fly Confident, it means making sure that there are sneeze guards at the ticketing counters. It means that you're going to see face mask instructions all throughout the airport, that you're going to see social distancing guides on the floors wherever you go, hand sanitizer stations. All of that goes to make sure that you can be confident that you can fly safe and fly healthy. And we're trying to make sure that we're getting the word out too. So that's not just in the terminal, it's in social media. If you follow us on Facebook or Twitter at RDU Airport, you're seeing us talk about it almost every day. We want to show that experience as best we can.
Well, along those lines, too, RDU recently released a survey in which we found 75% of those who have flown since March say they would feel comfortable flying from RDU again.
Wow, that's awesome. So, yeah, we conducted the survey back in late July, early August. Our air service team did. And it was really eye-opening to see that people, once they flew, their confidence level shot through the roof. And so I think it was 51% said they felt safer flying from RDU after coming to the airport and seeing it for themselves, and seeing the mask wearing and seeing the guidelines all around the airport encouraging that safety and good health. And so that's great. That means that whether you are walking through the front door and getting your ticket and dropping off your bags, all the way to getting on the aircraft and taking off and going to your destination, hopefully somewhere warm. That means, we're working together with the airlines. It's a big community effort. It takes a village, literally. And I'm glad to see that people are recognizing that, because it is safe. We've done all of these things to make sure that we're knocking out your concerns before you ever even get here.
Right. And, there are varied levels of comfort in travel in general in adjusting to this new pandemic and our new normal. So we really are committed. And if you still have that lingering question and you're wondering about how does the air circulate on the plane, or what about parking, to just the general safety measures, nonetheless, you can visit our website, rdu.com. Click on the Fly Confident banner, and it'll outline all of the different safety measures, from the airlines to parking to ticketing, as well as contact information, because we know that things are changing regularly. We know that people have different airlines that they prefer to fly on and want to know what the ticketing arrangements are. So all the information that you need is on that webpage, and we encourage you to check it out. Yeah,
there's even a cool video walkthrough so you can kind of see it for yourself. We wanted to kind of pull back the curtain on what it looked like to fly through the airport these days, and hopefully that kind of again knocks out those concerns. So if it wasn't interesting enough working at an airport during a global pandemic, now we have to deal with the onset of hurricane season, which is one of the most interesting times of the year to be here at an international airport. If you've ever been around here or flown during an inclement weather event like a hurricane, especially some of the major hurricanes that come through the Carolinas, it's a very unique time to be here. We've seen some pretty interesting things over the years, and nobody could say that more probably than our guest today, Ashley Thorsen from our airport operations team. Welcome, Ashley.
Good morning, Jake.
So Ashley has been here several years and has worked a number of hurricanes at RDU, and so she's seen a lot of the front lines work as part of that operations team that really kind of takes the lead when a major inclement weather event comes through. So we figured we'd start really before a hurricane ever gets here. What does the airport do before a hurricane ever arrives?
Sure. So RDU, I would have to say, from the places I've worked, is one of the most prepared airports. Time is always going to be our best friend and our worst enemy in these situations. I say that because on the positive side, we take very good strides at trying to be most prepared for this hurricane that we can. So we start with our National Weather Service briefings from John Graves. He'll get us all in a room, and it's airlines, tenants, maintenance. It's everybody that's an authority staff that has an integral part to keeping the airport safe. He'll give us the track of the storm. He'll give us the hurricane category, what to expect at RDU.
So those airlines and the other business partners, they come in pretty early in the process.
Absolutely. I would say about 3 to 4 days before we actually have the hurricane. They're actually trying to prepare their airlines for getting their equipment stored, getting their flight schedules done. You'd be so surprised at how many people think that RDU actually runs the flight schedules when it's the airlines that are the big impact.
Yeah. So there's a lot of decision making, not just from the airport authority, really, but also from those people who are flying the planes and booking passengers in themselves.
Absolutely.
Is there any what other partners are involved in that meeting?
We have our maintenance team, which is I can't even sing their praises enough on how they prepare this airport for a hurricane. You have maintenance, you have our contract specialists, people down in the terminal, anybody who has a big part in keeping the airport safe and locking things down before it comes.
So that's a lot of coordination, Ashley. Does that change or fluctuate depending upon the severity of the storm?
John Graves, he gives us the national weather briefings, I would say 3-4 days out, then it's a day out, and then it's hours out. And he's really good about letting us know what impact, especially the rain and the wind, is going to have on the airport. So if the storm is more severe, then that makes operations. My primary job is to ensure that everybody's doing their job. So I ride around in my vehicle. I talk to the airlines about storing equipment. I'll even go talk to passengers sometimes just to see how they're feeling about flying out of RDU, which you get cool experiences. Everybody wants to go home, but also everybody wants to remain safe.
Does the airport fear high wind or high rain more? Like, which one is more troublesome for an airport?
I'm going to say high wind, because if you don't secure everything down on the airport or the airfield, it could become an object that would hurt somebody, damage an aircraft, and that's money out of somebody's pocket, and nobody wants to lose money.
So if you haven't spent a lot of time around airports, you might hear the term FOD. We call that foreign object debris. So everything has a chance to turn into FOD if the wind is high enough, right?
Yep, and I'm the FOD queen. So when we have hurricanes, I cannot sing praises about how clean our ramp is here at RDU. It looks beautiful, and that's the way I would love for it to always look.
I imagine it takes an army to get all of that stuff prepared.
It does, but again, that time thing, it's a negative thing if we just sit on it, if we wait and we don't do anything. But every airline has always worked with us very well in getting their stuff stored and prepared.
So I'm always fascinated by the amount of operations that happen here at RDU in different departments and different divisions. It just blows my mind. So can you talk a little bit about once you're an hour out, like you said, you give hourly briefings where you've got different roles. The storm arrives. What happens then?
Okay, so I would say if the storm is headed our way, we go to our essential personnel. Everybody will kind of hunker down where they are. Over in the AOC, our Airport Operating Center, where my office is, we have our EOC, which is our Emergency Operations Center. And that is activated sometimes when we have our natural disasters. What can happen is if the hurricane is severe enough, our COO, Mr. Langdith or Mr. Sandifer, can actually NOTAM close the airport. So a NOTAM is a notice to airmen. We send those out, and that's information that any pilot, anybody inquiring about RDU would need to find information on what's going on at the airport. If that decision is made to close the airport, that's a pretty severe storm. That doesn't happen often, but that is something that we have to do to maintain safety and for the operation here.
Can you remember that ever happening in recent memory?
Not since I've been here, no. I mean, you always want to send that airport closure NOTAM because it's the coolest thing to do in operations.
Yeah. The last major storm we had, I guess, was Florence. Well, you worked during that storm, right?
I did. That was in 2018. That was our major one. So one thing I remember about Florence, again, the ramp was beautiful. Like, it was spotless. But we had construction all over the airport. So from Taxiway Foxtrot, we had just open lanes of concrete. Our contractor, Lego, was working. And within that, the rain was so heavy, it looked like a lap swimming pool. So technically, you could go down there and it could stand up to maybe your calves and you could just do laps if you wanted to. But the FOD you mentioned earlier was a big thing. And we were so prepared, we didn't have any damage to anything at the airport, which was very impressive.
I remember seeing a video during Florence of the Paris flight that Delta operates coming in for landing. To see that flight come in the middle of those high winds was pretty remarkable to see.
Right.
Do you remember anything from that? Like what that experience was like? Which airlines, were a lot of airlines canceling their flights that day?
Absolutely. So one thing about that ops and safety meeting was the safety of the passengers and the safety of the employees. Southwest actually made the decision to cancel all their flights that Thursday and Friday. So they had nobody flying, which helped us in turn in operations not have to worry about that side of a terminal, so we could focus all our efforts at Terminal 2.
Since Southwest at the time, they were the only airline operating out of Terminal 1.
Right. And I think what people really need to remember is the airlines have control over whether or not they cancel the flights, not RDU.
So then what information should travelers take away if they have a flight that's scheduled during a storm? Maybe their flight is in a week. They don't know whether the storm is going to hit. What do they do?
Well, if you're a friend of mine, I work at an airport, but I do not know what your flight's going to do, so please don't ask me. But I would say to contact your airline for sure. They do a great job of posting on their website, and our team here does a great job of keeping our passengers updated as well on what's going on with the weather. You can check our website, you can check the National Weather Service, but I would recommend using all your resources as opposed to just calling here to the airport and asking, because we can't control the weather.
Well, we'd like to thank Ashley Thorsen from RDU Operations again for coming on the show. Thanks, Ashley.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So that's all the time we have for this episode. We hope you've enjoyed getting to hear a little bit about what happens behind the scenes at a major international airport like RDU.
Yeah, and we'd like to hear from you too. We want to know what questions that you guys have about the airport. We want to hear from you. So send your thoughts to us. Our email is communications@rdu.com. You can get a hold of us via social media. Our social media is at RDU Airport. You can get a hold of us via rdu.com and find our podcast info there. Just be sure to include your name and contact info because we'd love to give you a shout out on the next episode.
Yes, we look forward to connecting with you soon.